Let's talk about one form of weight loss resistance that almost no one is talking about, especially not your doctor. If you've seen any of my recent videos about weight loss resistance, you might remember that things like stress, hormones, gut, histamine, and other factors can significantly affect our ability as women, especially in midlife, to shed fat. But one thing we haven't really discussed is the type of stress happening right up here in our head. So today I want to talk about one of the most overlooked forms of weight loss resistance and then what you can do about it. And that is your inner environment, what you're thinking and feeling. Because your body doesn't just respond to what you eat, and it is one of the biggest reasons that women will lose a bunch of weight sometimes on a calorie-restricted diet, but then just gain it back again. Very frustrating, right? So our body responds to what we're feeling and thinking, what we believe, all the experience that we've had throughout our lifetime, things such as trauma, significantly stressful events, and challenges that we had a lot of struggle with, and to the conversations that we're having every single day. So now I'm not talking about this in a very superficial way. I'm not saying just think positive. I'm talking about the way your thoughts and emotions create a real physiological response in your body. And that physiological response, day in and day out, can either support weight loss or it can contribute to weight loss resistance. Let me explain how this actually works, and let's review it on this chart here. So let's say your inner voice compares you to a friend, and that inner critic says, "What's wrong with you? You're a failure. You're so fat." Your emotional response may be feeling ashamed, frustrated, and contribute to your overall stress. Then your body responds physiologically, feeling threatened and protective, which in turn increases your cortisol levels, your inflammation, increasing cravings, changing the way you choose food, and disrupting that insulin-leptin loop. The insulin-leptin loop, when it's deactivated, you might feel hungry all the time, have afternoon crashes, have increased belly fat. And if you haven't seen my video about that, check it out in our list of videos on our playlist. So this can be a vicious cycle that started with your thoughts. Now, let's say you shift that inner voice and you change the conversation to something like, "I'm doing the best that I can. I'm making healthier choices today." This interrupts the shame and frustration, and it's more empowering. It helps you remain calmer because you're taking positive action. And it's a lot more self-compassionate, which creates a completely different physiological response. That improves your heart-brain coherence, lowers your cortisol, improves your inflammatory response, better appetite control, and the end result is fewer cravings, overall better weight regulation, and easier fat loss. Yay! Now let's do a simple experiment right now. I want you to just close your eyes for a second and say to yourself, "What's wrong with me? You're never going to do this right. I have no willpower. I'm fat and ugly." Now assess for a second, how did that make you feel? Not too good, right? Now let's turn that around and instead say to yourself, "I'm beautiful. I'm doing so well. I'm making healthier choices every day. I'm doing the best that I can." Those two inner conversations do not create the same emotional feeling, right? They feel totally different, and they do not create the same physiological state or the same hormone balance. And it can become impossible to shed the pounds that you so desperately want to lose and keep off. So when your critic takes over day in and day out, your body is constantly receiving the signal that something is wrong. It feels unsafe, and it needs to protect you, and it holds on to fat. And this is where weight loss resistance becomes so much more than calories, because chronic emotional stress can influence the cortisol cravings, appetite control, insulin sensitivity, leptin signaling, fat storage, and inflammation. And inflammation is especially important here because inflammation directly interferes with that leptin signaling we talked about earlier, which is one of the ways that your brain determines whether it should keep driving hunger and cravings to help you get more energy. And that's why you feel hungry. So when I talk about your inner environment, I'm not saying that your thoughts caused your weight problem. I'm saying that your body is always listening and your body is always responding to what you're saying, even if it's unconscious, even when you may not be aware. So now I also want to say something here for the women who have been through a lot of challenging times. Maybe you grew up in a home where you didn't feel emotionally safe, or maybe when you were younger, you were in an abusive relationship with physical or emotional abuse. Weight gain can be an indirect protective mechanism, and it's not your fault. Your body adapted and protected you the best way it knew how. And sometimes what we call weight loss resistance later in life is connected to a body that has spent years living in protection and survival mode. And there is actual research supporting this. Studies on adverse childhood experiences like abuse, neglect, family dysfunction, growing up in chronic stress have found a strong connection between that early trauma and significant increased risk of obesity later in life. And that doesn't mean that trauma caused weight gain. It doesn't happen with everyone. But it does mean we need to stop pretending that weight is only about calories and willpower, because that chronic emotional underlying stress changes the way that your body handles weight loss and weight gain. And many highly successful women who maybe on the outside appear like they have it all together may continue to have this inner world filled with fear, shame, self protection, or feeling like they always have to brace for the next thing. So your body may have learned to hold on, not because it's broken, but because it was trying to keep you safe. And this is why healing that inner environment matters so much. So our goal, instead of trying to force the weight off with restricting calories, becomes helping the body understand that it's no longer in survival mode. And when that begins to happen, many women find that weight loss becomes easier and less of a struggle because their physiology no longer is constantly shaped by that stress, shame, inflammation, cravings, and protection. So one of the tools that I really love for this is called HeartMath. If you haven't heard of it, it does help you become more aware of your emotional state and then intentionally shift your physiology through what's called heart-brain coherence. So you're training your body to move out of that chaotic stress response into a more coherent, balanced state. HeartMath studies that focus on obesity focus primarily on this stress-induced emotional eating and nervous system regulation. And they utilize what's called heart rate variability to help individuals shift into a physiological state of coherence, replacing emotional food cravings and emotional eating with improved self-regulation and healthy behavioral habits. And that matters because, as we say on the chart, your emotional state creates your physiological state, which either is going to lead down the path to weight loss resistance or weight loss itself. One HeartMath study found that participants lost a significant amount of weight and experienced reductions in waist and hip measurement by practicing HeartMath 10 minutes 2 times a day. That's a total of 20 minutes, even without calorie restriction. These participants also reported improvements in emotional states like calmer, less anger, less resentment, and less stress. And there are a number of other studies that support this. When women stop attacking themselves and begin regulating their emotional state, their whole relationship with food and cravings and choices improve. So HeartMath is just one tool. There are many other ways to shift this physiological response, and some of the ones that we use in our program include things like EFT tapping that can help a lot with emotional intensity, reducing the intensity and shifting that response. The mirror exercise that helps women begin changing the way that they relate to their body instead of criticizing it. Bee humming technique can stimulate the vagus nerve and support nervous system regulation. And journaling can significantly help you process emotions instead of carrying them around in your body. This isn't about pretending that everything is perfect. It's more about becoming aware of what your body is responding to and learning how to consciously give it a different signal. Because your body is not the enemy. Your body is responding to the environment that it's living in. And your inner environment is one of the most powerful environments that you have the ability to change. So I'd love to hear from you. If you've tried any of these tools like HeartMath or EFT or mirror work, and you noticed a shift in your nervous system, tell me about that. I would like to know which ones were most effective for you. And did it affect your eating patterns, your stress levels? Let me know in the comments. And what's amazing is that combining these techniques with other holistic tools, weight and fat loss can become much more sustainable and can become your new reality. And if this video resonates with you, let me know in the comments and by liking this video. Because so many women have spent years blaming themselves that it's their willpower or something wrong with them, when what they really needed to do is understand what their body was trying to tell them. So if you haven't already taken my free 10 hormone weight and anti-aging quiz, this is going to help you increase your awareness of the two major hormones that may be affecting your weight loss resistance. And you'll receive a holistic solutions guide with your results in the email. And the link for that is in the description. So have a happy, healthy day. Namaste.